guys, I am here with a very special guest today. Welcome back to watching my channel. I'm so glad that you are here. But I am with Mandy Regel with United Real Estate. Something that I want to say about her is I met her through a transaction where she was a selling agent, I was a buying agent, and just was really impressed with her throughout the entire process. But got to hear her story and have just been absolutely inspired by her. And I'm excited for her to share her wisdom, her story, and just encourage and inspire you guys as well. So Mandy, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? And then I also want to hear, like, if you don't mind talking about that or the divorce that you went through, like I want to hear when you got into real estate and how crazy that whole thing was as well.
Sure.
So
awesome. Well, first, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to support you in your endeavors with your social media. I think it's amazing that you're reaching. Your goal is to reach so many other people and help them and encourage them. So I'm all for it and I love it. And the second we talked about this, I was like, I'm there. When is it?
Yay.
So thank you for having me.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, what an honor.
So going back to my childhood, I was born and raised in North New Jersey. My parents, we were a really solid Christian home. My parents were awesome. My siblings, we were all really close and tight. And, overall, my childhood was very normal. I didn't have anything. I don't have any kind of like story to tell about my childhood really. And so I just led a very normal childhood. And we moved to Pennsylvania when I was about 14 years old. My parents were musicians. So they were in a band. We had a lot of fun as a kid. Like we just had a really good life. And so I graduated high school in Pennsylvania and, I didn't really graduating high school. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. All my friends were like, oh, I'm going for this and I'm going for that. And I just kind of felt like I'm just going to be like, just be okay with the fact that I don't know yet. And I went to Bloomsburg University for 1 year and I left Bloomsburg University to go to beauty school. And
that's so cool.
A friend of mine that I met there, an awesome friend of mine, her name was Lisa. She came to me one day and she said, I am not coming back to Bloomsburg next year. I'm going to beauty school. Do you want to come with me? And I said, sure, I'll go with you. I mean, I never thought of beauty school in my life and I just went.
That's awesome.
So that's a little bit of a backstory about like my childhood going into college. And I did go to beauty school and I didn't wind up pursuing it. I did it for a little while, but it just, not that it wasn't for me, but like I just didn't feel like I found my place there.
Yeah.
And so I wound up getting married pretty young. I was 20. I think I was 20.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I was, I was married young. I had my son young.
Wow.
And I wouldn't change that for a thing. My son is like, definitely has gotten me through so many things and I'm just so grateful for him. But I was married to his father, his biological father, and he was in the Army. Wow. And so I went through deployment. He was in Iraq and there was
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So were you in Iraq?
No. Okay. He was deployed and I was back home and Ryan was, I think he was about 3 years old. And so I had a year, deployment. I was an Army wife, and there was some battles that I was dealing with within my marriage that I didn't share with people because, growing up, we were always like, I guess you could say my parents really raised us to be very, to just be more grateful for experiences rather than, I don't know, we didn't have a victim mentality, and so I just kept the entire time I was in a marriage that was not healthy. I just kept like hope And I was like, it's going to get better. We're just young. It's going to get better. And so to make a long story short about that, because I don't want to get into what isn't really necessary, when my ex-husband was in Iraq, he was a driver in Iraq, and he would leave the base, the military base. And when he would leave, he would say, I'm going on a mission for X amount of days. Just so you know, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days. So this one particular time, he was leaving to go on a mission, and he would be back in a few days. And the few days came and went, and I didn't hear from him. So like naturally, as a military wife, we then are trying to look for signs of life, like, is he still alive?
Yeah.
And so I started doing these crazy things, and I was like in our bank account and like in his email, like just trying to find, like, did he buy anything? Did he call anybody? Like, I just wanted to know he was alive. And in that innocent trek for validation that he was alive, I found some things that I didn't know were going on in my marriage. And so he had several relationships with other people that I found in his email. And so it opened up an enormous can of worms, I guess, for lack of better terms.
Yeah.
And
you had no idea.
No.
Wow.
And I knew in our marriage, I knew there were things that were similar to this, that, like, I kind of knew that he had that issue with himself, but I never ever went through this, what I had opened up in that email. And so I feel like that was kind of a pivotal time in my adult life.
And how old were you?
So at that time, I think I might have been like 25 or so, and 26 maybe. And so I was like, okay, I guess what you do is you get a divorce, right? Like, this is okay. He had relationship with other women, and that's what you do, right? Like, you get a divorce. And so in my mind, that's what was the right thing to do. And so I think I was kind of going there in my mind. And then I changed my mind, and I decided, I think I want to see if we can make this work when he comes back.
Wow.
So he came back. I found out when he was there, all of this. And when he did get back from his mission, I had to, address it with him through Skype, because this is when Skype was like the way to communicate. That was hard because I couldn't like be there in person, but he came back in September. That was in April. And he came back in September. And I was like, we're going to make this work. And I was so hopeful, and it just didn't, it never fully did. And so we got to a point a couple of years in after he got back where he was a truck driver in the civilian world as well. So he was coming back from being out on the road, and it was President's Day weekend, 2012. And I had made a meatloaf, and I never ever made meatloaf. I do not like meatloaf. My mom made it too much as a kid. And love you, Mom. I don't want to offend anybody, but she did. And so I was making a meatloaf, and I was like, Ryan and I made banana nut muffins. And I just vividly remember this day. And my ex-husband called and said, hey, my friends are going out for wings tonight. No, he knew I was making dinner, but he said, do you mind if I just go with them? And so I was like, no, that's okay. You don't ever do that. That's fine. And so he came home, and he took a shower, and he left. And my son was young. I think he was probably about 6 years old. And he was really sad that Daddy was coming back and then leaving again. So he was like, but Daddy, I wanted to play games with you. And so he told Ryan he told my son that he could stay up. You could stay up. When I get back, I'll play games with you. And he left. And then he never came home. So wow. That was the start of a moment for me that was like, okay, I have got to have a plan for my life, because I can't depend on anybody but myself. And so, yeah.
From there, because he left and then you were like, oh my gosh, like you need to have that plan. From there, that's when you got into real estate.
Yes.
But at the same time, I remember you telling me your house was being foreclosed.
Yes.
Which is crazy that you went from that and now you're the one selling houses, like sucker punch.
That's another, I'm glad you reminded me of that, because that actually did happen after. So after my husband at the time left, I was a stay-at-home mom and I didn't have an income. And when he left, he did not financially support us, and I did not have an income. And not that I'm saying that I ever discourage any, moms or wives to ever do this, because
absolutely.
I don't want to, give the wrong impression here. But in my case, I was not prepared. And I had a very modest, small, like 1940s farm home. Like it was just this little house, and it didn't cost a lot. But it doesn't have to be a lot. You have nothing coming in. The payment was very small, but I didn't even have small.
Yeah.
And so I did, at that point, I did enroll in real estate school, which I was set to start on March 12th. And this happened in February. And I was like, I'm going for it. I'm doing this because my alternative is to work in retail. And I worked in retail a lot of my adult life, just, as a college kid and stuff. And nothing against it. It's just that I didn't think I could ever, make a house payment and do all those things, making that. So, so then the foreclosure process it happened because I didn't have an income, it started, it didn't happen. It started.
I love that. It didn't, it started, but it didn't happen because you worked your butt off.
Yes, I did. That I did.
About that. I'm really inspired by that and super encouraged. Like getting into real estate, I'm not a single mom, with a kid that's dependent on me. I'm in my mid 20s and I'm doing okay. And so, but you worked your butt off.
I did.
To save your house and to provide for your child. Tell me about that. I'm very impressed and encouraged.
Thank you.
Inspired. All the things.
I'm that's what I'm here for. I'm here to inspire other people because I believe that anybody can do this.
Yes.
Because, honestly, a lot of times what happens is it takes you to hit that rock bottom. It's such a cliche thing to say, but and some people hit rock bottom and they just keep going. And then some people hit rock bottom and they find the positives and they believe in themselves and they hope for a future. And at that point I was like, I'm hoping for a future and I know I'm better than this. And
I love that.
Yeah. So I did get a foreclosure notice on my house, and it was like this. I contacted the mortgage company, and I had just finished real estate school.
Wow.
And I remember I called them and I bawled my eyes out and I said, I promise you, I just finished real estate school. As a realtor, I would never do this to you. I would not, I was basically begging them, like, please just do something. And so at that time they were still doing what they call like loan modifications. And so they were so gracious because they started to stop doing them. And they did allow me to do this, even though there was no hope for them. They don't know who I am. And I did. I will say that was probably one of the biggest pick-me-ups for me. And sometimes we need that pick-me-up to go to the next good thing.
Yeah.
And I think that was, it was like, oh, there's my one glimmer of hope. There's my one, like, amazing person that just did something so pivotal in my life that they will never ever realize.
Wow.
And so that's powerful. I was able to get a loan modification and then at the start of my real estate career, and I should mention my dad did he was a realtor at this point. So like many years have gone by, and he got into the real estate business. He was always a builder my whole life. He was in the mortgage business. He had his own mortgage company. And he did many, many different things that were all related to homes. And he was a very successful realtor at this time.
Wow.
And we talked about it, and I said, I'm getting my real estate license. And he said, we ought to do something together. Maybe we open up our own office.
Yeah.
He's an entrepreneur. And so he was like, let's do this. So we did this. And that's when I started. I started under my dad's wing.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you worked your butt off and
Yes.
you made it.
I did. And it was not always, sometimes right now you see in the media and social media, you see a lot of people who, they just like, you'll see these like, covers on these like YouTube videos and it's like thumbnails and it's like, I made $500,000 in my first year, like whatever. Okay, that's great. And I think that's amazing, but it's not always going to be like that, and I am not like something special. Like I'm not like some, like person that I was a mom. I was like just doing everything I could. And I don't want to say it like I wasn't something special. I mean, we're all special in our own way, but like I wasn't, so I just fought. Best way I could say it is I just fought.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm impressed by that. I guess like going off of that, like what advice would you have for somebody getting into real estate or even getting into like any entrepreneurship? Let's say I'm the young single mom that you're talking to.
Sure.
My heart's broken.
Yes.
The house is falling out from underneath me because the mortgage company is going to take it. What would your advice be to me?
So my advice would be to you, no matter how emotional it is and no matter how hard the grief and the loss is in something that you like never thought would ever end, right? The facts of life all still remain, which is you have bills to pay, you have children to feed. And I don't want to say life goes on, but in a way it's kind of like, those are all the emotions of what's happening in your life. And it's important that we have to also look at what is actually, what we have to do to survive.
Yeah.
And so what I would do is say, okay, let's have that emotional time. But you also then have to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and say, like, what is my plan? And sometimes we don't have a plan, but if we at least have a vision or a goal, we can get there. And that's sometimes all it takes. And like I said, one little victory for me personally, each victory, each thing that I could rejoice about led me to the next thing that I could rejoice about.
That's so good.
And it's not everyone is wired that way, but for me personally, that's what kept me going.
Like focus on the victories.
Yes.
And the small things.
And also I was raised in a Christian home and, I am a Christian and I believe that God designs us with a purpose. There is a purpose that we all have and to fail him by not fulfilling that. Like I just don't want to I just never wanted to like discount the fact that like I knew I'm telling you right now, the moment that my husband walked out and never came home, I knew I had this peace, truly peace that passed understanding.
Wow. That's powerful.
I was a mess for so many years in that marriage. And then it was like this, it was just I couldn't fathom the peace that I had. Wow. And the only way I could explain that was, even though it was an emotional time, the only way I can explain that is that, I was a woman of faith. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I went back to my faith and I'm like, God, you are the one that's here. Like you are never leaving. And so there will be so many people who leave us in this world.
That's so good.
And on this earth and he never does. So I am a firm believer in, if you don't have faith, you've got to find it.
Yeah. That's so good.
You've got to find it because that's the hope that we have.
Yeah.
Because it's.
And it's so true. And I love how you said like that's what carried you through and you found that peace. And I even love how you said like you felt like you had a purpose. Yeah. And which is so true.
Yes.
We're not put on this earth for nothing.
That's right.
And I think that's even something that I've just been inspired by over and over again, by your life, by different people's lives, is like you see it and you're like, I was made for that. Yes. I was made for more. And it brings this purpose out of you, like this passion for the purpose.
Yes. And it does. That is exactly it. Like the And when you live your life like that, when you live your life knowing that there is something more and that I have a purpose and that I'm not here on this earth to serve my husband who never made me important to him.
Yeah.
Why? Right? So I'm not here on this earth for that. I am here on this earth to fulfill the purpose that God has for me. And in turn, God promises us that, you know, when we fulfill his purpose, when we fulfill our purpose, that he will bless us, you know, in so many ways, like making us passionate for life, I didn't have the compassion that I have for other people until I went through the trenches.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
so
good.
I think I'm grateful. I'm so grateful because I think there's people who go through the trenches. They are in like the deepest of waters and they don't have that then to come out and say, you know, not only did you do it, but I did it and I'm going to be able to serve other people better. I'm going to be able to be a better person to other people, you know? I think maybe I got off a little off on a bunny trail, okay. But yes, when you said really good. Having passion for other, you know, for the things of life, you know, it's when you go through those kinds of things and the hardships, I found it to be easy to have passion for the things that were good in my life.
Yeah. Wow. I think because I'm always like, I always love leaving stories with hope. And you're now happily married.
Yes, I am. Yes,
I am. And you have 3 kids.
Yep.
And you have a beautiful career that you're thriving in.
Yes.
And so I guess just tell me a little bit about like you and your husband, your second marriage.
Yes.
And just how redemptive God is in that. Because I just want to show, you know.
Yes.
God can redeem anything.
It's
anything and everything.
It's amazing. It's an amazing story. And I won't go listen, I'm a story. I love to tell my stories and I love to tell them in depth. And because I think sometimes there's other people going through that would be like, wow, I want that, or I had that, or whatever. But I met my husband actually years and years ago and knew him since my son was little. He was a mutual friend of a friend, or he was a friend of one of my friends. And I was married and he was in a relationship. I mean, I never would have thought that we would have reconnected later, but so he is somebody from like the past that I reconnected with a few years after I had gotten a divorce. And he is like literally I don't want to say the perfect husband because I think that's kind of like a false, like, I don't know, but he is amazing. He is perfect for me. He, you know, he's such a good guy. So he was a police officer when I met him.
Did he pull you over? And that's how you got your number?
Right? No. Oh my gosh, it's funny. No, he didn't. So we knew each other before and like we reconnected and he was a police officer down near Hershey. And so that's another part of this that like I was in my family business. My dad and I did open up, you know, a real estate office and I was like hit the ground running and it was just me and him with like a group of agents, but like we were really going at it hard and it was just a couple of years in and I met my husband and fell in love and we got engaged and the only option was for me to leave and go by him because he was a police officer and the way that it was structured, it wasn't easy for him to leave where he was. Yeah. So I moved. And so a part of my real estate journey has also been that I've relocated multiple times. Wow. And that has also been challenging, but like also exhilarating because I've gotten to meet so many people and learn under so many different agents in different markets. And that's been awesome. So, you know, like, my story and my path in life and in business has not just, you know, shaped me personally, but it's like shaped me professionally too, because
I love that.
I've been able to meet people in different and in real estate, in different market areas, you know, things happen differently. Yeah. The transactions take place, the way they take place is a little bit different. And so I've had the experience of like a few different areas and like, what do they do in the Harrisburg area? And what do they do in this area? And I've been able to take those different things and like make like the perfect mix for me.
That's so good.
That I like, so I think I really appreciate that. Also, when we work together, I think I told my husband a million times, like, Sarah is like my favorite person in this whole world, because it is a breath of fresh air to work with agents who are not just, just like monotone and boring. Like you just had, like, I literally felt like there was just like, you were like speaking life into me when you were talking to me on the phone. I was like, I love her energy. Like she's just so wonderful. And like when we'd hang up, we would always I'd be smiling, like,
Same.
And I just was like, I felt so like, I just felt like so filled. Like I was like, oh, I love her. So I probably told you I loved you too. But yeah, so thank you for that, because that's been awesome coming from different areas. But going back to what you asked me, my husband is amazing. I love him to death. He is just my anchor, and he's just like, he's amazing. He's such a good, just such a good husband, and he's just so supportive.
Yeah.
And I never ever thought that even existed, to be honest with you. I didn't think that even was a thing. Good. And the respect factor, like, when you're disrespected in a relationship, you don't realize that you even are sometimes
until you're out of it.
Yeah. So I did not know that was a thing. And so it's just amazing. And so my son, Ryan, who was little when his dad left, he a couple years went down the road, and my husband now did wind up actually adopting Ryan.
Oh, that's precious.
Yes. So because he did have his dad in his life for a little while, and then his dad, he came upon some things in life that kept him away from Ryan, and so my husband now adopted Ryan, and like my husband now, he came from the same situation where, like, his stepdad adopted him, and for different reasons, but yeah, like he also, so it's just like amazing. It's such a God thing. And, so we got married, and we had two of our own babies together. So we have a 6-year-old little girl named Aria, and we have a 2-year-old little girl named Kennedy. Oh wow! And so we're busy. We're inspiring and encouraging one in college, and we've got one in diapers. So I was like,
so you're a full-time real estate agent, but then you're a full-time mom of 2 under 6 years old. Yes. Yeah. That's impressive. Yeah. See, I thought your kids were older.
No, yeah, they're little tiny. Now,
and you're very successful. Like everybody I talk to is like, Mandy Regel this, Mandy Regel that. And so
thank you.
I have mad respect.
Thank you.
How do you do it?
I will tell you. And I'm just going to like be transparent here and vulnerable, but I will tell you that the majority of I do feel strongly that like relationships, you could door knock yourself to death, and you could cold call yourself to death. But if you aren't a people person, this isn't the business for you.
That's very true.
And I'm very just being real, because and I'm not saying that you have to be like, oh, I'm going to be like so extroverted. I mean, you don't have to be, but if you don't love on people and you don't want to serve them,
that's so good.
You cannot make it in the real estate business. I mean, maybe you can, but I'd like to talk to you, because I mean, it's truly, it all boils down to, do you love people, and do you want to serve them?
That's so good. And honestly, like it's selfish to not be that in this business.
Yes.
And so,
because then it turns you into a used car salesman. Should I say that? I don't want to say that, but it turns you into that, like,
and you're after the money,
negative. Yeah. And
I love the money, by the way.
The money is amazing. I always tell people, I'm so grateful for this career, because there is nothing like it financially that with someone without a degree. Because, I went through that journey of like, what do I want to be? What do I want to be? Oh, I want to go to beauty school with my friend. I never planned that. But like,
I love
you know,
Yeah.
it has offered me so much for my family and for myself,
Yeah.
for my own self-worth. You guys, like, I feel like that,
That's so good.
you know, I finally found something that I felt like I was helping people.
Mm-hmm.
And I was helping people in a moment of their life that they needed it so much, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I just found that that was something that like was just so satisfying for me
Mm-hmm.
professionally, personally, and it just filled my cup, you know?
That's so good.
And so I think what I want to add on to what you said, like you're like, you know, talking about the success that I've had. And I'll tell you, comparison is a thief of joy, and I am known for that with myself. Like I compare, I always think, well, why do people say I'm successful? I know that's so weird, but I am successful. I know I am, but why do people see it from the outside? And I can tell you because from my relocating, I have never met the volume, the sales volume and the numbers that most successful agents meet, you know. I mean, I haven't gotten there yet because I've moved so many times that I've just started over several times. Last year was my biggest year, and I think what I wanted to add on to what you were saying was I think the most success in this business comes from not just being a people person, and not just being a people person for your clients, but the biggest thing for me has been is showing love and, you know, kindness to my colleagues.
That's so good.
Because we are not like, we are all floating in the same boat.
Yes.
We are all in this to help our community buy a home, sell a home, rent a home, and we need each other.
That's so good.
You know?
Instead of there being like the competitive.
Oh, the great divide.
Yes, between your colleagues.
And
you're there to bridge that gap and really be like, let's do this together. I love that mindset.
And
it's so valuable.
And it is mindset that it is so important to be. And like, I think that comes with also where you work. So like you are who you hang with.
So true.
Right?
Yes.
Like you are what you eat. You are what you hang with. Like you surround yourself with what you want and what you see as beautiful and amazing. And so because I've always kind of been on my own, like moving from here to there, and, you know, I've kind of done a lot of stuff on my own, I've found a lot of inspiration with like people online. And, you know, I would always like search like who's the top agent in the entire country. And like, I just want to know what they did and, you know, and where's their heart and like what, you know what I mean? And I've learned from people in person as well, but you know, you just got to take all the good from the people that you've worked with and turn it into like a package for you to deliver to people, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah,
the
the connection with agents and just not just agents, but like anybody in the industry.
Yeah.
We've got to love each other. We've got to treat each other with respect. We've got to show kindness. We'll never get to the end goal.
Yeah.
If we're like trying to like put our dukes up every time something happens, you know?
That's so true. That's so true. And I think that's why you're so easy to work with is you have that mindset.
I
and it's
probably,
so good.
yeah. Cause, and I always think, I probably even said it to you on the phone before we met today. Like, I just wish everybody would just be on the same page with that. Cause it would just make for such an amazing experience for the clients.
Yeah.
Cause it does affect them. You know, when we're submitting an offer and you've got agents who are being jerks and like, just don't be a jerk.
Don't be a jerk.
Just don't be a jerk.
Yeah, no, that's so true.
Because there are people out there like that. For the most part, we've got like really great people, you know, in the business, but you know.
Yeah. No, I've worked with some incredible people as well. And I'm so thankful for all the connections and everything.
Yes.
For sure.
And we're all different. We're not all going to be, you know, like happy every single day. We're not. But we've got to like come from contribution and we've got to offer value, and how we can do that, in my opinion, is by just understanding that we're all on the same page.
I love that.
And we're all in it for the same end goal.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So any other final things or thoughts that you want to share before we end this?
I'd like to just give a little word of encouragement for agents who are just starting. So maybe you don't have some kind of a big story, or you don't have, an experience that like knocked you down, that brought you here, but you just want to get into the real estate business and you want to kill it in the business. My biggest suggestions would be, these are things that I didn't maybe successfully do up front that I wanted to do. Now looking back, I think I would have been better for me if I did. So, you learn from others' mistakes, right? Or not mistakes, but from other journeys. But so one of the biggest things is like, be true to yourself as an agent. And if you don't know what that is, then you should seek that. Find out what you stand for, what your core values are, and like, what are the people like that bring you joy, and like who are your people? And you should be true to yourself, because in the business, we will encounter a lot of clients that, if they aren't our people, then we're probably not serving them the best that they deserve.
That's such a good perspective, though.
Don't you think?
Yes.
Because if they're not our people, then we're probably not their people. And, in a milestone moment, people do deserve someone who is going to be able to walk alongside them that are like them, that are similar to them. So I just feel, be true to yourself. And if you don't know who you are yet, you're young, or like in my case, I didn't really even know who I was. I was like hiding behind this mess. And I think finding that, set out on a journey to find that, make a vision board, like what do you like, and stick with that.
That's good.
And then if you encounter clients that are definitely not suited for you, you should take referral business seriously.
Yes.
And that is an avenue of income.
And you can make so much money doing that.
And you can. And I'll tell you, I relocated a few times, and I've made a business, like not a business out of it, but I've made that a huge part of my business.
Yeah.
I love matchmaking people with other realtors. And so it's just
awesome.
Great. And so I think people should realize that it is okay to do that, and you could do it tastefully, and your broker can help you with that, with how to do that. But be true to yourself. And then, another bit of advice is take having a database seriously. That is something that I didn't take seriously, because I dove in the way that I did, and I was just like, all in, and I didn't have time for that nonsense in my mind, but take your database seriously. Have a way to track the people in your life, your sphere of influence, the people that you love, the people that you encounter, so that you can nurture those relationships. This is a relationships business. And if we know we encounter a lot of people, and we need to really keep track of these random people that we run into that maybe we won't remember. Yeah. And so database is really important, in my opinion, for success.
Wow.
If I could change anything, that's probably what I would do.
Wow.
But yeah. So those are the two real big things I think would be, I would suggest for new agents. But
fun. Yeah. Well, thank you again. And thank you all for watching.
Thank you for having me. You're just scratching the surface.
Yes,
you're ready to. You are. You're like, I'm gonna reach the world.
Absolutely.
And I love this. I love this.
Thank you. Yes. No, for real. Thank you. But guys, thank you for watching. I hope y'all were super encouraged and inspired by Mandy, as I was by her very real and raw story. Like, I think that's what we really need is vulnerability, because that encouraged me and that inspires people as well. So thank you for watching. Yes. Make sure to like and subscribe for more.